Welcome to another episode of In the Nude. Today we're going to talk about regulating your nervous system. What a nervous system is, why you regulate it, and why it gets dysregulated, and then practical, tangible ways of regulating your nervous system. You obviously probably know what a nervous system is, right? It's like think of it as a computer for your body and how it runs, okay? It gets dysregulated and needs to be regulated when you've gone through stressful situations, when you've been traumatized, when you have lived in a fight or flight situation, right? Think of it like when you have a computer. If you open up every piece of software you have and you have a couple internet windows open and all of them have like 1,000 tabs, and then you open some type of big operating system like a Photoshop or something like that that takes a lot of generating power, and how it like will wheel of death and be like, no, that's dysregulation, okay? Unfortunately, we are not as simplistic as necessarily as simplistic as a computer where you could just like, okay, close out all of the software and then things will be like calming down and like it'll take a second. But with regulating our nervous system, it can be a little bit more complicated because even if you take some things offline, because our brain has been used to being in dysregulation, it will automatically start creating its own software running in the background, essentially, to create dysregulation. It's kind of like if you are used to feeling angry, and that's like your default feeling, you're going to find yourself naturally, even in a peaceable situation, finding things that are will make you angry, because your body is addicted to the feeling and the regulation and the norm of it, even if it doesn't like it, okay? So dysregulation can be the same way. So it can take a lot to disengage our brain from being in the norm of the pattern, okay? So we're going to go through and talk about a lot of different practical ways that you can regulate your nervous system, and know that the entire process of regulating your nervous system and a healing process is a scientific method. You're going to have to try things and figure out what works for you, because if it was just a 1 and 1 and 1 is 3, then there'd only be one book. There wouldn't be podcasts. There wouldn't be people talking about it all the time, because it'd be a known quantitative. And let's be serious, there's nothing really in the world that is that simplistic but math, okay? So one of the best, and when I say best, I mean most encompassing, because it is so integrated into life, repetitive and instinctual, but also extremely difficult because of how life works and is tuning into and listening to your body's needs. This is not something that most people in the United States and a lot of places, but specifically the United States, are allotted or allowed to do because of work, because of school. And so this is something that you may not be able to apply all the time, but you can apply it on your day off. You can apply it, and even if you have kids, you can help and teach your kids that it's important to apply this and do this by modeling it to them. Just because you have kids doesn't mean they have to have the thing answered to most of the time. So you can often help your nervous system by treating your needs as more important, much like people talk about putting the mask on, right? Okay. We cannot serve on an empty cup, all of that jazz. So if you have kids and you're at home, I get the constant drive, the constant need, the constant stress that is, but there is no release from that. So you have to create your release. You have to prioritize, and you are doing so and giving your kids an amazing benefit because you are showing them, modeling to them this important model by living it out. You can talk it through too, but anyway, all that to say, anybody can do this. It just may have to be in limited time frames, okay? The concept is literally listening to what your body needs. Going to the bathroom when you immediately after you figure it out, or as quickly as you can without causing stress to yourself, right? Getting a drink of water when you find out you're thirsty. Eating some food when you find out you're hungry. Going outside when you get yourself overstimulated and overwhelmed, right? Or taking a break and going to a quiet room. What this does is it actually tangibly tells your body you are safe enough to do it. You are safe enough that you can immediately go get water. It's this like base level evolutionary way for your body to know I am safe, tangibly. If I can go pee when I need to go pee, if I can be not hungry and immediately eat something, if I can drink water as soon as I know I'm thirsty, I am safe, right? This can be extremely difficult to start applying when you've spent years and years of disallowing your needs, of placing other people before you, of dysregulation, of all those things. So that was me. Learning it means you're going to have compassion and grace for yourself. It means that you're not going to be able to just, for most people, decide to do this and it'd be very simple and very like natural. It's going to have to be like most things when you learn how to do them, difficult and failing a lot, falling over, not actually, but you know what I mean? Something that helped me is placing the concept of what I'm looking for is not some type of loud, clear, understandable, but asking myself yes or no questions and then listening. For example, say I'm extremely upset, some type of emotional dysregulation, right? In that moment, asking myself, do I need to lay down? And then trying to feel inside of my body whether I might lean forward towards the idea or lean away, right? That's a minute thing, and it might be just tiny inclination or tiny not. Or do I want to get into a bath? Does a bath sound good? Being like, that's kind of a no. It's like, it's a maybe, but it's, or it could be or tiny noises. Like the barrier between like you being able to tell which way it is going to be very small and very quiet when you haven't been listening. It will get louder over time because your body will feel safe to get louder. One of the ways that like you may have experienced this level of quiet is if you've ever had a nauseated sickness and then you like whatever that is, it makes you not want to eat, and then you're going to go test, okay, I need to eat something, and you open the refrigerator and you automatically see something and you're like, no, that is not helpful. Or you see something else and you're like, I could try that. It's kind of that vibe, but a little bit more quiet than that would have felt, right? And you'll get better at it the more you do it because your body will start understanding it's going to be listened to. Other ways that you can regulate your nervous system. There are loads of them, and again, you're going to need to try to see what works for you, okay? Because there's a lot of options and not every one of them is going to be helpful. A like umbrella style thing to talk about would be grounding, right? What is grounding? Grounding is reminding your body to be inside of your body. Grounding is placing your body literally like you're made up of electricity and little particles, right? It's connecting yourself into the earth, right? It's bringing yourself back to the moment. Ways you can do this are like endless, but there are grounding exercises you can do, right? You can look up 1,000 of them everywhere on the internet, really easy. One of the simplest ones that I know is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because we can all count backwards, and it's connecting to your senses. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 deep breaths, and 1 thing you can smell, okay? It doesn't matter what the order is, it's just getting your senses and pulling you back, because when you can identify and really get particular about the things around you, you're getting present in the moment. The more present you are in the moment, the less you're going to be like out here trying to take in everything, and when you're out here taking in everything, you're going to get overwhelmed, right? So it brings us back to the moment. Other simple grounding things are literally just walking around outside barefoot, whatever you can. When you go to the park, just take your shoes off, walk around. If you can be near water, it's even better. Think about the reality of how many times you've ever gone to the beach, right? An environment where people are like wearing very little clothes, listening to music that other people don't want to listen to, all being in a tight space, and yet you never see a fight. It's because everyone is in this completely zen, regulated, continuous, being grounded situation between the sand, the water, and the sounds that are there. But there's loads of ways to ground, but those are very simple ways, right? You can have specific techniques that you do. You can go, like another one is you can go and literally get a flower or get a piece of a tree bark or anything that, like, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be something in your house instead of something in nature, but I tend to get nature things. And you literally just get really focused in on the one thing, right? and you think about and look at all the details that are on the leaf, the vines that are there, the ridges on the edges, the fact there might be little fur, right? And you get really, really specific. And the reason I like to do this with nature is because then you can do this another part of the exercise is after you've gotten really, really specific, you can then look at its connection to nature, the bigger object, right? So if it's a leaf, looking at the tree that you took the leaf off of or fell off the leaf, right? And you look at all the details of that tree, and then you come back to this very specific leaf in front of you again. There's a whole science to why the small, like the super specific, and then the broader, and then the super specific, and what it does, but it's just going to help you further ground. That's the extent of what we're going to get into right now about that. But that's one of the reasons why I use nature specifically, is because I can do that furthering than just the specific. Inside your house, it'll be just the specific, but that's okay. They are stimulating your vagal nerves, right? This vagal nerve is easily accessed on your neck on both sides, but what it is it's a nerve that runs as part of your nervous system, right? That runs through your body, and it's something that helps you automatically calm. It helps your body switch from being stressed cortisol to calm, peaceful, okay? There's loads of ways that you can ground with that, right? Humming. Humming as much as you can. This is something you would do when you're at work, as long as you are in your own office and not going to bother somebody else, right? Answering with that's another type that literally stimulates the same things in your throat that cause the vagal nerve to be like massaged, essentially. And that's something that no matter where you are, if you're answering that way, most of the time, you're going to be okay. Like, nobody's going to be mad, right? And again, apply these things instead of looking for reasons why you can't do them. Look for how and where you can, and apply them as much as you can, because the more you can do things that are these things, the more you are going to have a benefit, right? But humming, singing, those are two things that help stimulate and massage the vagal nerve. You can actively do things like if you pull on your ear back and hold it for 5 seconds and release that, and you can pull up on your ear and hold it for 5 seconds and release, and you can pull down on your ear and hold it for 5 seconds and release. Pointed and specific deep breaths followed by a big swallow. You can actively take your nerves on the side of your neck and you could squeeze them and massage them. These are tangible things you can do, right? Touching your actual nerve. There's also things that are like bilateral stimulation, okay? Bilateral meaning bi being two, lateral being across, right? Okay? So things like if you hold yourself in a crisscross hug, right? And you tap your shoulders while you are taking a deep breath, while you are looking and breathing outside, while you are listening to white noise, while you are giving yourself affirmations. You can do this a lot of different places, but what this does is it causes the two sides of your brain to play with each other, right? Like, think of it like a volley, and it makes them have to pay attention to the present moment. That's why it's another version of grounding. It helps your body go from being wherever it is to having to be present and paying attention to tapping. It has to have cognitive thought of being like this side, now this side, now this side, and it causes both sides of your brain to be focused there, right? There are other ones you can do where you're doing it on your legs. There's ones like, if you look up bilateral stimulation, there is an entire list of exercises you can come across, but especially if you've had a lot of trauma in your life, bilateral stimulation can be extremely soothing. It forces you in a very tangible way to have something to do, and it forces your body and your brain to be present in the moment. If you have had a lot of trauma, bilateral stimulation is a great place to start because it's something small. You can do it while you're breathing, you can do it while you're sitting, you can do it, and it will help a lot. Taking a walk outside is another version of grounding. We didn't get into that, but basically any and all time you can spend outside and is connected, like literally you physically touching earth, like gardening, grounding. Anything you could, touching a tree, literally touching a tree, okay? Just like, there are so many different ways to regulate your nervous system, but most all of them, it comes back to trying to get yourself into this present moment instead of thinking about everything that's around. Getting yourself into observing instead of trying to control. Getting yourself into, and all of those things, what they do is they help calm you. Get you from being feelings like chaotic to like down levels, right? When you have lived in fight or flight, dysregulation is one of the biggest things that's going to stop you from being able to make forward movement with processing your feelings, thinking through things and being self-reflective, and of like getting to a place where you can journal, where you can meditate, where you can all of those things. Getting to a place where you can be regulated allows the door and the opportunity for so much more other changes you're wanting to do, that it is worth the energy and effort of putting into place things that will help you. Another thing is breath work, right? Breath work, you can do a lot of different breathing exercises. There's like so many different breathing exercises. There's the box breathing, right? And this is the concept of you breathe in for like 5 seconds, you hold it for 5 seconds, you breathe out for 5 seconds, you hold it for 5 seconds. It's called a box method because it's a box, right? There's also the simplicity of just make sure that whenever you're taking these deep breaths and you're focused on deep breathing, is that you exhale longer than you inhale, right? That's a very simple one to keep in mind. But for me, I have found when being extremely dysregulated that anything that offers me the opportunity to have a tangible thing to do, somebody saying, take some deep breaths, not helpful. But for somebody to say, like, count your breathing, that was easier. I needed something to focus on. I needed a tangible thing for me to control and do, because letting go and just existing was not a thing. So for me, bilateral stimulation was helpful. Bilateral stimulation while counting my breathing, super helpful. The more you could stack the bilateral stimulation while breathing, while outside, getting the idea? Bilateral stimulation while breathing, while outside, while standing or sitting on the earth. The more integrated you can get yourself into this present moment with regulating your nervous system and very like just practical, like we are here, we are now, we're not all the other things. Telling your body you're safe by taking deep breaths, telling your body you're safe by drinking water when you are thirsty. These tangible, very like, think of it like a little kid, right? They're upset and they're hurt and they're crying. What are the things that help a little kid when they're upset, they're hurt, and they're crying? You holding them and just existing with them. You taking deep breaths. Because if you're taking deep breaths, it will help them to naturally co-regulate, right? Giving them soothing, like playing with their back or tickling their hair, or messing with their hair or tickling their back, right? Paying attention to or observing something around them, playing with like the patterns that they have on their pants, or the patterns that are on the things around them, or making an observation about, oh, did you hear that bird? Those are the same techniques you're using for yourself. You're going to be your adult self for yourself, and you're going to be co-regulating yourself. But there's not really think of it this way, okay? You're breaking apart yourself, okay? You're going to be you, who's now taking responsibility to do this, and you're going to be helping you, your inner self, who hasn't ever been helped to do this. And you can view it like co-regulation that way. It's going to be, you can give yourself a hug. You can brush your hair, and while you brush your hair, take deep breaths that you're counting your breathing. You can go for a walk and start listening very specifically and paying attention to the sounds you hear. Not listening to music, not like distracting yourself, but like really paying attention to the sound of your feet hitting the gravel or the mulch or the driveway. Pay attention to if you hear nature or the wind. There's a lot of opportunities and a lot of different paths for how to regulate your nervous system, but the baseline I want you to take away from this is simply, it is you getting more attuned to your body. It is you getting more attuned to this exact moment. It is you allowing your body to know that no matter what you have been through in this exact moment, you are safe enough to take a deep breath. You're safe enough to take care of your needs. You're safe enough to slow down enough to observe, wow, the detail of the vining on this flower petal is crazy. The texture of it. The more that we can get ourselves into a more regulated nervous system, the more we will feel at peace. The less like tension and strife and that stomach clenching feeling, the more you can practice this. And it's going to be frustrating because sometimes you're going to do it, you're going to feel so great, and like 5 minutes later, you're going to feel dysregulated again. Have compassion and grace for yourself in this process of regulating your nervous system. It is not. You've taken all these years of being dysregulated. You've taken all of these years of being hurt. Give yourself the grace and compassion that it might take time to get out of those patterns. You're worth that effort. You are worth that energy. You are worth the process of relearning and helping your body. If you have any particular questions or you want more details about any one of these particular things, please feel free to let me know, and I can do a different episode specifically getting more into the nitty-gritty.